This in-game item is currently valued at around $2 million. For comparison, with that kind of money, you could buy a 4-bedroom house in Miami, a Lamborghini Huracan to park in the driveway, and a Rolex Daytona to wear on your wrist. All of them together, and you'd still have change left over. Or you could own this knife. This is the factory new Karambit case hardened pattern number 387. It's known as the Blue Gem, and it's the single most valuable skin in the game's history. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. In June 2024, a rifle sold for over $1 million. There's a pair of gloves worth more than a luxury car. There are even individual stickers, yes, you heard me right, stickers, that have sold for close to $90,000 each. This is the story of the strangest market in the world, and it lives inside a video game. So before we go any further, let's first understand what we are actually talking about here. Counter-Strike is a competitive tactical shooter. 2 teams, 5 players each, one side plants a bomb, the other tries to stop them. Simple premise. It's been around in one form or another since 1999, and it's consistently been one of the most played games on Steam. In 2012, Valve released what was meant to be the definitive Counter-Strike experience, Global Offensive or CSGO. The idea was simple. Get everyone playing the older games to move over to this new one. 1 year in though, and that wasn't happening. The player bases of the previous titles had barely budged, and CSGO was struggling to find its footing. Valve needed to give people a real reason to switch. That would come on August 14, 2013, the arms deal update. And this changed everything. The update added something called skins. These were cosmetic items that changed how your weapons looked in the game. They didn't make you better or anything, they just made your weapons look cooler. And the best part about it, you could get them just by playing. Within about 7 months of this update, the average number of players had increased by 6 times the original amount. The plan was a resounding success. There was one thing I left out earlier though. Players being able to earn these skins was all well and good, but what I did mention was that these items were also tradable. People could exchange these skins with each other, but perhaps more importantly, they could exchange them on Steam for actual money. And just like that, a market was born. Now, to understand how this market works, think of it like trading cards. Pokemon cards, baseball cards, whatever you grew up with. Most of them are worth a few cents, some are worth a few dollars, and then there are the rare ones that sell for thousands, sometimes millions. CS skins, they work the exact same way. The vast majority are worth next to nothing, but the ones at the top, those are what I showed you at the start of the video. So having been introduced to the market now, the next logical question we come to is, what actually determines the value of a skin? Well, this is where it gets interesting, because how valuable a skin isn't determined by just one thing. There's actually a whole grading system behind it, and once you understand it, you start to see why certain items can go from being worth just a few cents to being worth more than a house. The first thing that matters is rarity. Every skin in this game is assigned a rarity tier, and there are 7 of them in place. At the bottom you've got consumer grade and industrial grade, the white and light blue items. Those are the common stuff that you can get just by playing the game. Then starting from mil-spec, which is the blue tier, you get into skins that actually come from cases. It goes restricted, classified, covert, and then at the very top, you've got the knives and gloves. These sit in their own special pool with a roughly 0.26% chance of dropping. That's just about 1 in every 385 cases. So right from the start, some skins are just fundamentally harder to get. But rarity alone doesn't tell the full story, because even 2 skins with the exact same name and the exact same rarity can be worth completely different amounts. And that comes down to a few things. The first one is float. Every skin is given a number between 0 and 1. It's float value, and this determines how worn it looks. Lower means cleaner. Based on this number, skins are grouped into 5 wear categories: factory new, which is the cleanest, then minimal wear, field tested, well worn, and finally battle scarred, which is the most beat up. A factory new skin and a battle scarred version of the exact same item can look completely different, and the price gap between them reflects that. Now where it gets really extreme is at the top end of the market. For rare skins, a difference at the 4th decimal place can mean thousands of dollars, and some skins make this even crazier. There's a pair of gloves called Pandora's Box works, where the possible float range barely overlaps with the factory new condition. We're talking about a gap so small that getting a factory new pair is exponentially harder than any other wear level. Same gloves, same name, but a factory new pair is in a completely different price bracket. Then there is Stat Crack, which is basically a kill counter built into the skin. Only about 10% of skins that come out of cases have this, so it automatically makes anything rarer. After that, there are stickers. Stickers are cosmetic items that players can apply onto their weapons. They come from all sorts of places: community-made capsules, in-game events, and most notably, tournaments. Every major tournament has its own set of stickers featuring team logos and player autographs, and players can buy capsules during the event to get them. Now, even though once applied, stickers can still be removed, there's a catch. You scrape them off, but each scrape damages them further until they eventually just disappear entirely. Now, most stickers, they're worth very little, but the ones from older tournaments, especially the ones that are no longer being produced, have become increasingly more valuable over time. And at the very top of this list are stickers from a 2014 tournament called Katowice. There's one called the I Buy Power Hollow that goes for over $50,000. Another one, the Titan Hollow from the same event, has fewer than 30 tradable copies left in existence, with the last sale going for about $89,000. And when someone applies stickers like these onto a skin, they add a percentage of the sticker's value on top of the skin's base price. So a skin with 4 Katowice 2014 hollows can end up being worth significantly more than the same skin without them. Apart from this, there are also something called souvenir skins. These are special drops that only happen during major tournaments. They come with gold stickers of the teams that were playing and the MVP of that round. You cannot get them in any other way. The cases they came from get discontinued after the tournament ends, and the supply is permanently capped. And finally, after all this, there are patents. Remember when I said blue gem at the start of this video? This is what I meant. Certain skins, most notably the case hardened finish, have what's called a patent seed. When a skin is created, it gets assigned a random number between 0 and 999, and that number permanently determines where the colors land on the weapon. The skin can have over 1,000 possible patterns, and most of them just look like a regular brownish gold blade with some patches of blue here and there. Nothing special. But certain seeds, they produce a blade that's almost entirely covered in blue, and those are what the community calls blue gems. Out of roughly 1,000 possible karambit patterns, only about 158 qualify as blue gems at all, and pattern number 387, the one from the start of the video, is the only one with near perfect blue coverage on the side you actually see during gameplay. So when people hear that a skin in a video game is worth more than their car, it's not random. It's because there are layers to this. Load, stat track, stickers, souvenirs, patterns, all stacking on top of each other. Every single one of these is a multiplier, and when you hit the right combination, you end up with something that a very specific group of people will pay almost anything for. And some of these combinations have created items that are genuinely one of a kind. Take the M4A4 HOW. When it was first added to the game through the Steam workshop, the artwork on it turned out to have been stolen from another artist. In response, Valve removed the skin from its case, redesigned the artwork on every existing copy, and gave them all a completely unique classification, contraband. It is the only skin in Counter-Strike history to receive this label. Even a well-worn copy of this goes for over $4,000, and factory new versions regularly sell north of $15,000. Then there's the Souvenir Op Dragon Lore. This is a sniper rifle skin from a collection that has been long discontinued. Souvenir versions of the case that the skin is from only drop during major tournaments, and only about 12 factory new copies exist in the entire world. The best ones have sold for upwards of $150,000. It's one of those items where the history of the skin matters almost as much as the skin itself. These aren't just expensive items, they're artifacts, and the people who collect them treat them that way. But before we go any further, if you're enjoying this so far, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 300 subs and we are genuinely so close. But either ways, apologies for the tangent, and let's get back to the video. Now, I mentioned that players can buy and sell skins on Steam earlier, but what I left out was that players are also able to do this on external sites. The Steam community market has a cap on listings. You can't list anything above approximately $1,800. It also takes a 15% cut on every transaction, and the money you make, it goes into your Steam wallet, which you can only spend within Valve's ecosystem. So for the high value stuff, the Steam market simply doesn't work. Instead, these transactions happen on third-party platforms platforms like Buff, Skinport, Dmarket and CS Float. There are loads of these. These sites let you trade for real money with no listing cap and faster transactions. Now, the same infrastructure that enables legitimate trading has also opened the door to some other ventures, and this is where things get a bit darker. Third-party gambling sites have been operating in this space for years. They let people deposit skins and bet their value on coin flips, roulettes, jackpots, and even esports matches. This would be a grey area in on itself, but where it gets even more concerning is the fact that Counter-Strike has a young player base, and these gambling sites don't always have proper age verification. So moving to the next question, has Valve actually done anything about any of this? Well, this is where it gets complicated because there's actually two separate gambling conversations happening here, and they often get mixed together. The first is the third-party gambling sites, the one that I just talked about. Valve's official position has always been that they have no business relationship with these sites and don't receive any revenue from them. And to be fair, they have taken steps. In 2016, after a series of high-profile scandals involving some of these gambling sites, Valve sent cease and desist letters to a bunch of them, telling them to stop using Steam systems. In October 2019, they made CSGO container keys non-tradable after finding out that nearly all key trading had basically turned into an anonymous currency for gambling operations. And in December 2025, they officially banned all skin gambling sponsors from jerseys and broadcasts at all licensed Counter-Strike events. But here's the thing, these gambling sites operate using Valve's own Steam API. That's what lets them connect to players' inventories and move skins around. And as long as skins can be traded freely on Steam, there's really no stopping new gambling sites from popping up the moment old ones get shut down. Critics argue that even though Valve doesn't directly make money from these sites, they benefit indirectly because the gambling ecosystem drives demand for skins. And that brings us to the second conversation, which is about Valve's own case opening system. Because here's something that's easy to overlook. The way you actually get most of these skins in the first place is by opening cases. And to open a case, you need to first buy a key from Valve for $249. What you get inside is completely random, with the rarer items having much lower odds of dropping. The case opening screen even comes with an animated spinning wheel, which if you think about it, looks and functions a lot like a slot machine. You're paying real money for a randomized outcome where most of the time the item you receive is worth less than what you paid for the key. This is exactly what regulators have started to push back on. So yeah, it's a weird situation. Valve is simultaneously the company taking steps to crack down on gambling, the company being sued for running what regulators say is a gambling system, and the company making over $1 billion a year from the economy that surrounds it. And yet, through all of this, the market keeps going. In October 2025, the total value of all CS2 skins hit $6 billion. 5 days later, Valve released a single update that flooded the market with new supply, and it lost nearly $2 billion in value overnight. It has since recovered, but the crash proves something. This is an economy that reacts to policy changes the same way a stock market would react to a government announcement. That karambit from the start of the video, it was unboxed over a decade ago by some random guy known as Two Shots. It's passed through multiple owners, eventually landing with a Chinese collector called Newbridge, who bought it for around $100,000. In 2021, he was offered 1.2 million euros in Bitcoin for it, and he said no. And it's now worth more than most people will earn in a decade. That's the CS skin market, a $1 billion economy built on texture files, running for over 10 years with its own collectors, its own scandals, and its own crashes. And most people have absolutely no idea that it even exists.